Today I want to talk about how and when to set your speaker delay. So I'm going to give you 3 examples of where you should absolutely set speaker delay, and the third one I guarantee you had no idea about. The overall goal with setting your speaker delay is so that the sound coming out of all your speakers hits the audience's ears at the same time, and this will prevent any phase issues or basically like a muddy, echoey sound that you can get if you don't set your delay. Basically what I'm saying is if you don't set your delay correctly, you're not going to have clarity, okay? If you want to have a beautiful, crisp, clear sound, watch this entire video. So all sound frequencies travel at the same exact speed, 1,125 feet per second, or 330 something meters, I guess. You got to Google that one. With that being said, if there's any type of separation in between your speakers, the sound from the closest speaker is going to hit your audience first, then the sound from the other speakers will hit next, and then it'll cause like a phasing issue. You're basically going to have a hydromodulation there, and you're going to sound like shit. And this is why you need to set a delay. And delay is basically a digital way of holding back the sound from a certain speaker for so many milliseconds, so then you can time it out so that speaker hits the audience at the same time as your other speakers. So to calculate a speaker delay, it's based on the speed of sound. So the speed of sound is 1,125 feet per second. Now, all speakers and mixers adjust the delay by milliseconds, right? You can't do a whole second, that would be egregious. So you have to convert that to milliseconds. So you take that 1125 and you divide it by 1,000, or essentially move the decimal point, and now you're left with 1.125 feet per millisecond. Now, since we're not measuring the distance in between the speakers by 1.125 feet, it's kind of easier to do just 1 foot at a time, right? Then you're going to convert that to 0.8889. So the official calculation for a speaker delay would be 0.8889 milliseconds per foot. For the first example, let's say you have a subwoofer right in the middle, right in front of your facade, right in the middle, right on the dance floor, and then your 2 top speakers are placed a little far back, right? So you're basically behind the subwoofer. In this case, you want to measure the distance between the top speakers and the subwoofer, right? And then take that and times that by 0.889, and that will get you the amount of milliseconds you want to delay the sub. Now, of course, with this and all my examples, use your ears, okay? There's other things. It could be hotter in the room. Temperature does affect things. You know, the size of the room, the acoustics of the room and all that. Go out on the floor and use your ears, but generally speaking, this should work all day. Now, for the second example, let's say you have a remote speaker. You got a main setup right on the dance floor, and then your remote speaker is 30 feet away, basically to supplement sound for speeches and stuff like that. With this, you have 30 feet, but I recommend calculating it based on 1, not the 0.889, and I'll tell you why. There's something called the precedence effect. Basically, humans, when we hear sound, we identify the source of the sound based on first arrival. So when we first hear the sound, wherever that's coming from, we identify that subconsciously as the source. So since the DJ in this example is the source, you want that to be the first arrival. You want the sound from the main setup to arrive to the audience's ears before the supplemental speaker. That's why you up it to 1 second, so the supplemental speaker is just slightly delayed before that, so the source is identified. And this makes a huge difference. Because if you think about it, if you want your audience to be as engaged as possible, then like you want them to have you as the source of what they're doing. So they're watching what you're doing, and you know, they hear something, they're turning to the DJ booth, they're not turning to the speaker next to them. You know what I mean? It's gonna help with engagement overall. It really does pay dividends. And with a lot of these tips, you guys might be hearing me thinking like, oh my God, like this is such subtle stuff. Like, why do you worry about this stuff? And I'm just a believer in stacking the deck to my favor. Like, I want to do all these little things. Everything like that adds up. And if you stack the deck in your favor, you have a way better chance of having the best party possible. And that's what I'm all about, people. Okay? So whatever. So speaker 30 feet away, you want to set your delay at 30 milliseconds. Now, the third example is if you have your top speaker on top of your sub with a pole. Now, a lot of people disagree with me on this, but science is science, facts are facts, because when you have a vertical distance in between your subwoofer and your top speaker, you have to calculate a delay based on that distance, because the subwoofer has a slightly longer distance to travel to the audience's ears than the top does based on where it's at. Even though horizontally it's on the same playing field, right? It's completely even, it's right on top of each other. That vertical distance, the subwoofer has a longer distance to travel to get to their ears. So you still need a slight delay. And doing this is going to make your sub and top more coherent and aligned with each other, which is going to give you more bass on the dance floor. See, if you're rocking 2 subs and 2 tops and you feel like your bass is kind of weak, it could be the speaker, right? There's definitely levels to speakers and, you know, more powerful than others, but it also could be just because it's out of phase. That's why it doesn't sound good on the dance floor. You need just a slight delay. So before you go buying a big expensive new subwoofer, maybe try setting the delay. You might see some big results. So if your top is 3 feet above your subwoofer, you want to multiply that by 0.889, and that is the delay you want to set. But keep in mind, every speaker's made differently. They're all designed differently. So you want to use your own ears, go to the point in the dance floor and listen to it, and then make little minor adjustments based on your ears until you get that perfect sound. This is based on having a regular sub and a regular top with no DSP or anything like that. Now, if you have built-in DSP, like if you're using an all-in-one EV Evolve 50, or you're using the RCF J8, or anything that has like built-in DSP that's like made for each other that comes together, all that delay is built in. You don't have to worry about any delay whatsoever. You just plug and go, you're good. So basically in conclusion, if you're not using an all-in-one system like that, you literally always should set some kind of delay. Always. Always, always, always. No matter what, you have to set some kind of delay. And I know 99% DJs don't. So let this be an awakening for you. Go try it out your next gig. Trust me, it will pay dividends. I'll see you at the next one.